Not a whole lot to update on with the live feeds. Still got to get that second HOH out of the way. So I thought I would talk about the Jokers and their journey to the final three and how they truly out positioned the rest of the cookout. That is where they did best. Can't say they outplayed, maybe on a social level. They certainly did on a social level. And just connecting with Xavier was definitely the right move. But I want to take us back to week 4 and 5, when I was basically one of the only people that I saw on YouTube anyway, talking about the Jokers actually positioning themselves the best in the game. When you position yourself in the middle of the game, or when you can, it makes for an easier game if you can do it right. And the fact that Ozza and Big D were not big threats, it made them able to play the middle for some time. And I don't even think they realized it right away, but they eventually did. Ozza did when she realized she had power in telling Christian the truth the week he was going home, because people needed the Joker's votes if there was going to be any kind of blindsiding Sarah Beth and voting Sarah Beth out over Christian. There's many ways to win these games. There's certainly no one way to win. Uh, very, very different games can win Big Brother, can win Survivor. And I think that floating that's something the Jokers have done, is floated. But I also think just being able to position yourself in the middle is a highly effective winning game. Honestly, the mastermind game is one of the least effective ways to win these games, because it's a hard thing to pull off in the first place. And even if you do, there's a good shot you got a better jury you got to go against. So this is why I've been talking about for weeks how important positioning is in this game and how important dynamics are in these games. So I think that the fact that you can make your target small and play the middle is how the Jokers outpositioned players like Tiffany, Hannah, and Kylan. And I think the season also showed, because some people will try and tell you can't overplay. While Frenchie, Tiffany, and Kylan all showed you all that you certainly can overplay and do way too much and get way too messy and start making way too many bad decisions. So trying to play too hard ain't great. So I wish people would stop trying to say that shit, because it makes no sense. Yes, you can still win the game overplaying, because like I said, there's many different ways to win the game, but there are certain ways that are just less effective. And I think masterminding or trying to mastermind is pretty, it's just not effective. Floating isn't always effective either, but in this particular season, it worked out great because you had a lot of people. There was a lot of passive players, but there was also a lot of players trying to do way too much. And then you just start making bad decisions. And I just don't think the Jokers made a lot of bad decisions. They didn't. Oz's gut has been impressive in this game, and a lot of the things he said would happen happened. And making that final three with Xavier has paid off in the end. Now, still, the Jokers, they can't really outplay Xavier at this point without winning the final HOH and cutting him. So they may have outplayed a lot of players in this game, or at least outpositioned them, but the only way they can outposition Xavier is winning this final HOH and cutting him. And right now, only Ozza wants to do that. If Derek Frazier somehow wins this HOH, he probably takes Xavier to the end unless Ozza could get through to him. But for now, like I've been saying for quite a while now, Xavier in total control of winning this game. Let's read some comments from yesterday's video. There was a lot of them. Kylan caused a storm, to say the least, with his nonsense. Let's start with Boo Boo, who said, Kai was warned by Tiff that X would cut him. He must be feeling stupid, laughing my ass off. Yep, correct, Boo Boo. Kylan was warned, but Kylan wanted to go to the end with Xavier. I mean, Xavier did a good job of making Kylan think that was the final two to go with. But we'll get into Kylan's hysteria here in a while. Ray Rush said, "Thanks for the video, handsome Pisces." Thanks for the compliments always, Ray. Yes, today's show was a mess. It was uncomfortable to watch, but one of the most dramatic exits I've seen. Yes, I agree. That was certainly dramatic, and Kylan was just trying to take a low blow. Isis Blue said Kylan should have put up Hannah and Xavier, kept Tiffany safe and as a possible shield. Mentally, Kylan wasn't strong enough to play this game. He lacked maturity when it came to strategizing and real gameplay. Hopefully, this will be a life lesson for him and he can become a better person. Yeah, like I said in the comment, I do think Kylan needs something to be a little bit humble about. Hopefully, this will make him a little humble. But judging by some of his exit interviews, I think he still thinks he's done nothing wrong and he had the right mindset. Maybe after he gets back into the real world, maybe watches some of this. Maybe he'll have an awakening. But Kylan's a dude that just has such a big ego that's hard to penetrate. That I don't know. It's odd though. I don't feel like Kylan wasn't mentally strong enough to pull off moves in this game. He pulled off a lot of moves, but he made a lot of bad decisions, and his ego is what I think just needs to be brought down a peg. Deborah Williams says, strength is in control, period. Exactly. Xavier showed more strength than Kylan did in yesterday's little altercation when Kylan was trying to take a cheap shot just because he was outplayed. Yui says, man, I think Kylan's elimination is rough. Kind of reminds me of Howie versus Boogie and All Stars in a way, but worse. Also, I know you're not particularly a fan of Tiffany, but I do think she does bring quite a lot to the season as a player. I'm always afraid that whenever there's too many passive players in the house, the season would be like BB19, and Tiffany is definitely not a passive player. Yeah, I agree that Tiffany was not a passive player. I do think there were still a lot of passive players this season, however, that were able to be easily manipulated. But well, I mean, I'm still glad Tiffany was cast on a season, and I still would have enjoyed a Tiffany win over the guys this season. I was rooting for a girl win just because we've had so many mediocre male winners between Big Brother and Survivor for the past many years. But I still think Tiffany's overrated, however. I hate to break it to people, but that's my feelings on Tiffany. But I'm glad she was cast. I only had a problem with her because of the way she treated Azah and going way too far with it. And it was dumb for her game, as I've been saying all along. And we saw it play out that it was dumb for her game. Kisha D said, Kylan did not talk about the nephew. Kylan maintained his composure and he was measured in this tone. He mentioned the nephew's name. That's not talking about him. Xavier talked all that mess about values and did the most scandalous move in a manner that wasn't mandatory. If I spoke to someone who talked like that, I too would ask what about all the crap you were talking. That's all Kylan did. He did not insult the nephew. I get the cultural norm, but it's bull. Hold X accountable for his words. Not to mention Xavier put it on Derek like the coward he is. Well, I mean, I wasn't saying that Kylan talked about his nephew in a way that was derogatory towards his nephew. It was a way to get a reaction out of Xavier because he's still talking about a dead man's son who just died a few months ago. So I still think Kylan was just trying to take a low blow, being emotional. And he's a fucking hypocrite, like I said in the comments, because Kylan literally did the same thing with Tiffany that X just did with Kylan. Kylan, much like Xavier, had a bunch of final twos. One of those was with Tiffany, and Kylan cut Tiffany, even though Tiffany, I think, actually would have been loyal to Kylan at least till final three if she had to. So I just don't like Kylan being a hypocrite. And then, he still was being a punk ass bitch because he's just an emotional person. Kylan is an emotional person. And I get why he was emotional because he got cut by somebody he really trusted. but still, you're taking a low blow and you just look like an asshole. It does nothing for Kylan. It just did nothing for Kylan. Kylan's a hypocrite, and he played messy, and he was sad he got bested, and he just played stupid, and he tried to take it out on Xavier, but sucks to suck. That's really what it comes down to. It's just hard to respect somebody within a game who takes personal low blows like that. That's the problem. Genevieve Nash said, not to mention the way he treated Sarah Beth, that being Kylan. She wasn't my favorite, but no one deserves to be manipulated the way he did her. Kai has earned a bad rep. Everyone else was playing a game. I half agree on that. I don't think Kylan got like personal with Sarah Beth. Yes, I get that they had like a fake personal connection, but I actually think that was mostly real for Kylan as well. But Kylan was still playing the game, so I won't like. I'm not mad at Kylan for that as much as I am all the times he talked shit about people personally. Frenchie Fascini said Kai kept saying that he wanted to go to Final Two with the best, while Caillou got bested by the best. Now pick up your face and go. Thanks for playing. Exactly. He's just mad he got outplayed. Kylan cut one of his final twos, and Xavier cut one of his final twos. Christy Watjan said Kylan was pissed. He took a low blow talking about X's nephew. X played that well, though. Agreed. Kamisha Mills said, loved how petty and pathetic Kylan got last night. Satisfying as fuck. Probably my favorite exit ever, next to Howie or Cody Nickerson. Yes, Kamisha, I agree. I mean, the messy hoe in me did enjoy Kylan being a dramatic little bitch, but I still don't like him. Jamie Lee said, if you love astrology, how do you think a Scorpio would have gone out? I only ask because I'm a Scorpio woman. I do think Kylan was trying to provoke Xavier purposely by speaking of his nephew and trying to get Xavier to get physical. Kylan showed his true colors. It was pathetic what he said. Yes, Kylan was trying to goad Xavier. As for astrology, like I said in the comments, I think I'm a little biased, but I do think all water signs except Pisces, because I'm a Pisces. But I think Cancers and Scorpios can get a little too emotional at times about games and maybe try and take cheap shots as a way to make themselves feel better. But, Pisces are emotional too, I'm not going to lie. But I do think there's a revenge factor with Scorpios. In astrology, Scorpios get this reputation for being vengeful. Meanwhile, Cancers just get this reputation for being overly emotional. I think Kylan has shown how overly emotional he is. Meanwhile, Derek acts a Pisces, showing he can, take this as a game when he needs to. Queen Ronnie said he was hurting so bad that he wanted Xavier to throw a punch. You don't bring people's family into the game with cheap shots. He did it with Tiff and X. It's disrespectful. Little did X know he had been talking all shit to the cameras. But oh, the karma bus came, cut his ass off at the knees. He deserved every bit of the best blindside of the season. I agree. When you're that blinded by an ego like Kylan was, getting blindsided is great. It makes for great TV because Kylan didn't expect it. He got emotional. He stole Derek Fraser's ring. I haven't even talked about that because I didn't realize it until I saw it on Twitter, that he kind of took Derek F's ring for leverage in the hope that Derek F wouldn't vote him out, yet it happened. So Kylan took Derek Fraser's ring from his father outside of the house, which I would hope production would be able to get back, but who knows? Kylan, a petty bitch. And yeah, so that is where we stand. Just need to get through this final HOH to really get a clear picture on what might become of this season.